We cross over to the roundtable. Linda's standing by to start us with this. Why President Uhuru Kenyatta cancelled the Kimwarer project and the dossier that shocked President Uhuru Kenyatta. It angered him to the extent that he cancelled, and we want to know why from our able panel. Linda.
And indeed, the dossier is out, and of course many would be asking, why is it that President Uhuru Kenyatta at some point, or maybe his office, was compelled to release this dossier? Is it because of the kind of bashing that he received from, of course, some members of parliament or some political figures in regards to the closing down of the project of Kimwarer, and saying that indeed Aror will proceed, but then again on probably half a budget as compared to what was allocated initially. And of course, damning reports coming aboard as to how best we conduct the procurement processes, the tendering processes, and understanding of some of these, projects that we come out with, of course, coming out clear that indeed some of the proper processes were not conducted to a point whereby, of course, the government reached this agreement that indeed they're going to proceed with the construction of Aror and Kimwarer, a dam that has since seen, of course, a former cabinet secretary for matters Treasury, Henry Rotich, out of the docket alongside his PS, and of course now sitting, at acting capacity, Ukuri Atani, coming out with different changes aboard this, and just comes out to bring a lot of questions as to the numerous projects that have been commissioned by the government in the country. One, of course, so much money allocated to it without due diligence, the procurement processes being put to question. So we'll be having the panel to echo in their sentiments on this, on their reactions, first of all, of what President Uhuru Kenyatta took as a stand, and moving forward, why he has to come out and explain things to the people, and the reports that are coming on board. Are they really justified? And if so, then how many other projects are facing the same kind of reports that we're witnessing today, yet they're still ongoing, yet there's still people who are pocketing money, and of course, most probably, we're not going to get accountability, and even worse, there would be no project at the end of the day. Coming to the panel of the day, like I had introduced them earlier on, Pius is seated right next to me. Pius Nunda, Director of Finance Advisory Services. Thank you so much for your time this morning, sir. And of course, we have Michael Yeo, Public Policy Analyst. Good to have you, sir, this morning. And lastly, we have Paul Adede, who's equally a political analyst on board. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. And there you go. The Aror and Kimwarer, still the ghosts are with us. Still we're discussing this. But this time around, not on the angle of corruption, but technically how it was a faulty process right from the word go. Any of you can pick this. Paula did it. It's long since we had you. Yes.
Thank you, Linda.
Maybe he was busy with the ODM Prime Minister.
Look clearly, yeah?
It's for the first time ODM did a free fair nomination process.
Oh, really?
Congrats to our party.
And you've changed tactic here. You're doing door-to-door campaigns. Eh? It looks like it's a hot ground.
It's not hot.
You think so?
It's hot for ODM.
Okay.
Is it ODMs to lose?
ODM to lose?
Yes.
No. We're just looking at the margin now.
All right.
Okay. All right. Yes.
What is there is, at least now we are seeing the president now moving the talk. It has just been press and giving threats, and nothing is happening. And then what you have just said, this was just, we look at the budgeting process, which from the parliament and the approvals and everything. This money was not meant for the dam. It was just meant for the big boys to eat it. Because you look at it, even from the budget process, where even the tendering process, you look at even the way the money was released, even before people went to the site, after the site, you don't see anything that shows that money was meant for the dam. Yes.
All right.
Linda, I think Paul here is being very diplomatic. The truth of the matter is an open secret in Kenya today.
Right.
About how budgeting is done in government. Nowadays, when budgeting is being done, what is supposed to be done is identified in advance. Who will do it is also identified in advance. Yeah. And how much it will cost is also identified in advance. So when they now proceed to do tendering, it's usually for PR purposes. You'll never get those things because they plan in advance how to steal these monies from the public. So those dams were not, I agree with him, those dams were not meant to be constructed in the first place. Yeah. They were not.
Because they were to sit on a fault line.
On a fault line, especially Kimwarer, well,
And you know,
was
it was,
cancelled.
and people thought it was scandalous when people went to the ground and they found nothing had been done at all. Even clearing of the bushes had never been done.
Right.
It simply meant that those dams were not meant to be built at all. That money was supposed to be stolen, and it was stolen.
Right.
That's my take.
All right. Pius Nunda.
Yeah.
There has been a web of course, connections that led to the arrests of CS Rotich, Kamau Thuge, and officials at the National Environment and Management Authority. Does it further reveal the extent with which, in this country, corruption has been institutionalized to the extent that there was no cut tree, yet there was the clearance certificate from NEMA, which is the Environment Agency. The money was paid, ended up in private pockets, and now we have a president who is cancelling the same project which was commissioned by his government.
Thank you very much. Quite interesting. And good morning, everyone. Now, looking at the events that led to the arrest of the CS Rotich, somebody would be so interested to find out why a cabinet secretary in charge of the national finance would go to the extent of making payments to a deal that is fraudulent from the word go. And I liked the way the DPP and the DCI swung into action to be able to arrest the two. Of course, many people thought that it would not be possible to arrest the CS Minister of Treasury, Minister of Finance. So my question, just to answer your question, how that revealed the extent to which corruption is entrenched in our nation, it is indeed. Because you want to look at the exact procurement procedures that were followed. They were flouted from the word go. You can imagine the head of National Treasury going to the extent of making payments to the tune of 21 billion to a firm in Italy that everyone knows
Was bankrupt.
Was
They
bankrupt.
declared bankrupt in Italy.
in Italy.
Yes.
And I'm very sure that even in this nation today, because we are supposed to be the protectors of the national interest, you cannot have a finance minister making such payments without knowing, you know.
Right.
So this is something that was known from the word go.
So it was a deliberate.
This was very deliberate. And you could see when the DCI ordered the arrest, DPP ordered the arrest of Rotich. He was actually in the office, and it was even big say that he saw his arrest on TV. And the immediate thing he did, he picked up his phone to call his bosses. You and me know that who are the immediate bosses.
Was the president and the deputy president.
And it was reported that nobody was picking his calls. And later on, the president said, carry on cross. I don't want anybody calling me, especially when they have been found culpable of corruption. So, as a nation, we have been taken for granted for so long. And I think the many areas that we are seeing for public officers, the big boys now, just reveal the extent to which we are making progress, even with our constitution.
What then does this speak about, or the presidency itself? Because in as much as there's that aspect of delegation and saying that indeed you've put somebody in charge, what people would argue that during the time of President Moi, he would know every single detail of every single place in the country. Does it then mean that there's some kind of laziness, or someone is not just doing their job at the level of the presidency, such that these reports would come out, you know, with a litany of errors and shocking the president himself? And not just shocking the president himself, but months and months later after, you know, the whistle was blown in the Kimorer factor.
I think what's happening is that, you know, in this country, there's no way the finance minister can sign an amount more than 1 billion without the president knowing. The president was aware of what is happening.
Yes.
But I know it was towards the political, we were moving towards, it was political by then. Maybe he gave it an eye that's saying maybe
this is going to proceed and finance.
Yeah, then lucky enough, handshake came in, and now the political temperature went down, cooled down. And if you look at even that tendering process, if you want to see why these people, they had already planned, the tendering process was done in USD dollars, and then payment made in Kenyan shillings. So it just tells you how smart they were. So this thing tells us, and that's the reason why you look at even the proposal by Professor Nyong'o, the parliamentary system.
Yes, yes. A very nice book, by the way.
A very nice proposal. You look at the Ugatuzi peer, you find, like before, the Minister for Finance, like Kimunya, he was answerable to the parliament, and he could invite debate towards some of these, the proposals he made in the budget. But this other one, the parliamentary, the presidential system, you are just a rubber stamp.
Right.
And that's what you saw. The Jubilee government just came, it's come, the president said this budget is good, they just pass it. Just before, so on the other side also, if Raila said it is yes, it is yes. But with parliamentary system, the Minister for Finance not only responsible for the executive, but also the constituents where he represents. And that brings a lot of debate. And by then, that's where we also, we are capable of knowing who are our leaders. In terms of debates, you find Anyona, Professor Anyona, the guys who are then. But nowadays, it's so looming. Right. That's the reason why we must actually look at the system of governance that we have currently.
Right. Of course, some cite the lost debate and the House losing its, of course, reputation. When you compare, of course, the Grand Coalition government of Mkatinu's, the likes of Orengo were there, Khalwale, and seemed that there is a degradation in terms of the quality of the debate in the House. But Mike, let me come to you on this important element. When the president did look at that report, definitely it's a project that he nodded head to. Hands on heart, he said, please proceed. 28 years ago, there was a report that this dam will be constructed on a fault line. And in the event that, of course, for someone who studied geology, in the event that there was going to be developments underneath the earth, then that will be catastrophic one for the locals who live in Elgeyo Marakwet County. However, though, is it a case of the government officials feeding the president a galaxy of inaccurate and chaotic information, in the essence that at some point he was hoodwinked, but later he comes to be the person who is very cautious about these projects. But that doesn't take the responsibilities off his shoulder, isn't it? Because he is the president who commissioned the same project under his administration.
Definitely, the back stops with him. But again, we have to give it to him that, you know, he cannot know everything that goes on in the system.
He should.
But he's the president, and he should. And he has to take the blame for it. And there is something that we must remember. There is no way you can pay billions of shillings without the president knowing. That is not, let's not cheat ourselves that he did not know about these payments. He knew about these payments, but probably he was given other stories altogether. But he knew about those payments, and those payments were not in order. They were inappropriate. They were meant for theft. And when our funds were stolen just like that, he had to react, because it was like he was part of it. To date, we are not sure of the extent to which that grand theft went. Up to now, even the prosecution is not complete. Nobody has been convicted yet. The matter is still in court, right? We don't know how many more people are supposed to be arrested and to be arraigned in court for whatever reason. We will know with time as time goes by who was informed, who was not informed, who knew what, who did not know what, as we move on.
What then does it speak about the numerous other projects that we have that are in question, the likes of Itare, the Tokwake, and all these numerous? And looking at a report that equally was highlighted on how we are falling at a danger of us not having fresh water as a country in, of course, the near future.
Ground zero.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to strengthen what my brother said. Looking at the Aror Kimoret Dam from the word go, and the president indeed was aware of even the payments. What I wanted to bring, the aspect I wanted to bring is the weak system that we have in terms of project execution. You can imagine that in all this, I am very sure that NEMA was involved.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Was.
Officials of the...
They were involved.
Yes, National Environment Management were arrested,
And there's what we call bare minimum that should have been presented on the table before even a single payment was issued. But so you ask yourself, where was NEMA? Because you look at the amount involved. We are talking about 21 billion that is already gone. So the big question is, then what then is the right procedure that we need to follow whenever we are executing such projects? And looking at 21 billion, what can 21 billion do for this country? The West Pokot, as a county where the project, the field project was, the Elgeyo-Marakwet County, as a national budget, as an annual budget of about 7 billion. Yes. Let's be conservative, about 7 billion. And we are talking about if the project would have been executed to the end, it was earlier on estimated to be 63 billion. That is enough to fund that county for 9 years.
9 years.
9 years. And remember, this is not our money. This is a grant. And remember that we went and borrowed, first of all, the loan for the project. Then, with a lot of wisdom, the officials in the Ministry of Treasury, or Ministry of Finance, they went ahead and even estimated the interest that was to be accrued over that period. And again, they went and borrowed about 4.5 billion in interest. Who does that? Who does that? So that tells you that this project was fraudulent from the word go. Because I was asking myself, good that the president cannot, the minister cannot make any payment above 1 billion. But even in terms of preparation for the payments, where are the officials? You read a lot of malice from even the person, even in the prepare of the payment voucher. You know, it is just a mess. So for me, I believe the Aror Kimwarer project was a fraud from the word go. And even when you're talking about the times when Kimunya was answerable to the parliament, yes. How many corruption cases did we experience from that? So it still goes down to our governance system.
To the extent to which, under the Grand Coalition government, yes. The then Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Lumumba, was seen off by members of parliament. To the extent even they wanted to censure the then American ambassador Michael Brennerberger for questioning them or putting them to task over the plan to increase their pay.
And you know, you ask yourself, then how much then does this kind of scandals expose our nation? The development partners who have been very deliberate in terms of supporting us, they're already looking at Kenya with a very skewed eyes. Because you cannot be one nation asking for support for that kind of project.
On the other, you mismanage the money.
You mismanage the money.
You see, what's also happening is, where is the role of Central Bank of Kenya? You even look at even the one for Lake Basin, where government title is being used to guarantee individual loans. Where was the CBK, where 1 billion was being, 21 billion was being paid without even them raising a red flag.
A red flag. Yeah. It's terrible.
All right, yes, this is the report. And of course, Kenya's water resources will largely be affected. I hope we're on time, Share. Yes, by climate change come 2050. And of course, consequently, a groundwater recharge will decrease significantly. And the biggest hope that Kenyans are looking at right now, the construction of the numerous dams that we're talking about, that the very same, we are questioning the processes and all that. Where does it place us as a country, and moving forward, what should we do? In as much as maybe we say, yes, that we need to streamline some of the processes in regards to the construction of these water entities.
What did you ask?
Well, the reports that are shocking. Yes. Well, this was highlighted yesterday on, reaction of how much we're having dwindling supply of water. We face a challenge of course, having our very own water resources affected by climatic changes come 2050. Yeah. And of course, the report also indicates that we solely depend on the construction of these dams for survival. Yes. Okay. Yet we witness some of these things. So moving forward, in as much as we say that we need to streamline the governance aspect of it and, the procurement process and entirely the processes of us having these projects, but moving forward, what should we do to avoid this scenario?
We cannot downplay the fact that we need water. For many reasons. One, our population is growing. It's growing, yeah. All indicators are that our demographics are growing and they are not reducing anytime soon.
And of course, we are waiting the census outcome.
The census outcome, we are waiting. So we'll need a lot of water in the future, right now and into the future. And we need these dams. The fact that Aror and Kimwarer became scandalous should not stop us from thinking about construction of new dams. Right. We certainly need new dams and new water sources for our people. And that means we need to address what went wrong. Is it the accountability systems that are weak? Is it the governance systems that are weak? We need to take them head on. Because unless we do that now, we will not be able to arrest that in future. So even the Thwake Dam, all these should now be audited as we are, so that moving forward we cannot say, oh, you know, we were still dealing with our Aurora and Kimwarera, and that's why we did not audit the Thwake Dam project. We should audit all these dams today and see where all the loose ends are and seal them, because we need many more dams into the future. Our people don't have water. If you go out of this city, even the city itself does not have enough water.
Yes.
Actually, the city gets its
about
water from
Ndakaini
Murang'a.
Dam.
If Ndakaini, if there's a problem in Ndakaini, Nairobi will just die. So we should not give up on the issue of constructing new dams across the country, but we should be very careful about how we spend our money. And we should seal all loopholes on theft, grand theft of public funds for whatever reason, whether it is for dams or for any other public utilities.
Because the consequences of that, then, if it goes unabated, will be very catastrophic. And of course, you have alluded to the fact that the ongoing fight against corruption is one that is so important, significant, because the impact of corruption is always feared and has consequences across all sectors. Then, gentlemen, let's see the break here on the program. When we come back, we'll turn our attention to last week, Thursday, when the governors, through the Council of Governors Chairperson Wycliffe Oparanya, made a statement in which they now become the third force in the quest for a constitutional referendum, which all appears now inevitable in the country. We have the Punguza Mizigo Initiative, and the BBI is set to come up with a report by the end of October. It will be doing so and will recommend the way forward. It was constituted following the political truce between the president and the opposition chief, Raila Odinga, in March 2018. And while we seek the sentiments of that, in the final segment, we'll be talking about youth and entrepreneurships and how we can boost the economy. Regarding that, we have three guests who will be on set and are lined up already to talk about that. The number is 0791-478-9904. is the short SMS code. The hashtag on Twitter is NewDayKE. We are coming back after the short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching the program. This is NewDayKE. Linda and Ayub Abdikadir on set. Now we turn our attention to what will appear a third force in the quest for constitutional referendum 9 years after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution on the 27th of August 2010. Well, this is the Governor's Ugatuzi initiative. Not formally on paper, but they made that statement on Thursday last week afternoon when it was led, of course, by the chairperson of the Council of Governors, 037 Governor Wycliffe Ambetsa Oparanya. I'll come to who is coming to you, Adede Paul Adede. Of course, you have reservations about Punguza Mizigo. I know that for a fact. The BBI is yet to be out, but some of the party members of ODM, a party you staunchly support, have preempted that, saying it will lead into a parliamentary system of governance. Now we have the Ugatuzi initiative, which calls for the formation of a prime minister's position, and wants members of parliament to be the ministers so that they can be held accountable at the floor of the House to answer to questions, so that we can't have the essence of the sort of proximity distance between the CSS now and the committees of parliament, where when they are summoned, they send their PSS and their other ministry officials. However, though, does it look like one that will be a guarantor in the essence that it's a Kenyan affair? And of all these three, the two proposals, one is yet to come. We'll be awaiting the BBI. Of course, we don't have the expert or cannot prophesize what they are forthcoming with. Does it one that will cover or immunize Kenyans against the problems that they are being affected with at the moment, including the economy, which is largely underperforming, and the extent with which political divisions in this country are causing a lot of uncertainty during every electoral cycle?
Yes, you know, what is so most important is about the structure. When you look at the Ugatuzi initiative, and like the Punguza Mzigo, which is political, more political emotion from the alliance, third way alliance. I tend to align myself to the Ugatuzi initiative. It's very short and very clear, though they're giving so much to themselves.
Of course, which comes in reaction to what we witnessed on the TV.
But at least they are trying also to be very sensitive in the national cake. If you look at the structure, which of course we have been waiting for BBI, now 1 year down the line, I don't know what they are doing. You look at the structure, they are saying they propose the president to be the head of state, the deputy president, then a prime minister who is the head of government, and the two deputies. Then you look at the ministers, the cabinet. They are proposing that the cabinet be not more than 18. And out of these 18, one-third to be outside
Yeah.
members of parliament, and the
Let's
rest
say technocrats.
and then the rest be the members of parliament. And then where I also have issues with them is to deal with the Security Council. They are saying that the counties also to have their parallel security. And again, they are also saying in terms of revenue, which was also the proposal of ODM by then, the Okoa Kenya. It was that 45% of the audited account be taken to the counties. And look at that 45%, the way they have distributed it. They are saying 5% to go to 5% to go to special interest groups. Then they are saying 30% to go to ward funds, which also the Punguza Msigu is also proposing. Then they are saying 3% to go to judiciary, and then 20% or 10%, 20% to go direct to farmers to help in food security, which is also good. So, and then you look at in terms of what has been ailing us so much is the issue of electoral IBC.
Yes.
They're saying governors, senators, MPs, and women rep, the election should end up at the county level. Then coming to Nairobi, people moving from the village, bringing farms to Nairobi. Let that be squared at the county level, which is also good to me, because it prevents the tampering of the result. And then the most important, again, is the political parties. They are saying that the political parties should be independent, which it should be independent, where they supervise the audit and everything, so that we prohibit the anomalies that happens most of the political parties. They audit their funds. They even supervise their nomination processes.
And must be a member for 1 year?
Yes, and you have to be a member for 1 year. Not like the way Owalo just dumped ODM 2 days ago. And then jumped to Jubilee. And then and you look at the way even they are saying inclusivity. They are saying that each county must be represented in the cabinet, either through being a minister, or a deputy minister, or principal secretary. To me, that's also a good proposal. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry for
no problem.
Why do constitutions get reviewed from time to time?
Right.
From a policy perspective, constitutions get reviewed from time to time, basically for 4 reasons. One, like in our case here, there must be certain areas in our constitution that, even though they are extremely clear, we've not performed well with them. Two, there could be some areas which are not clear, in brackets, ambiguous, and therefore we've struggled to interpret them. Three, there are areas which are non-existent in the current constitution, and yet they are absolutely necessary for the well-functioning of our society. And finally, there are areas which are already existing but require amendments, since their current provisions could be limiting and undermining the efficiency of the running of the society. So we've already laid the foundation for why our constitution needs to be reviewed. But now let me get back to the governors. I really respect the views of my brother Paul here. Just like Paul, I'm a great believer in devolution, a serious believer in devolution. And I will support the governor's initiative for the very good reason that, they're the custodians of devolution at the county level. But I thought that the governors ought to have concentrated on very specific areas that they want to be addressed. And I think the first question the governors ought to have invested a lot in is to ask the simple question. Question number one, why did the government of Kenya devolve some functions but retained money and power to spend them in Nairobi? For instance, health. Health is a devolved function.
Yes, but 90% of the budget remains in Nairobi.
Remains in Afya House. The central government still enters into contracts with suppliers abroad without even the knowledge of the governors. And you are told now we have brought equipment here, just sign here. And we will pay for those equipments and we will deduct at source So even the payment, the governors have no say. Okay? The governors were even lamenting, they've never even seen those agreements. And they are quiet about that. That ought to have bothered them most. Number two, governors ought to have been concerned about why there is duplicity of roles in national and county governments. For instance, why do we still have the provincial administration? We have people who are doing those same jobs. We even have ward admins.
Yes, we have ward administration at the ward level.
Yes, even village admins now are there. Governors ought to be asking the central government why they still insist on maintaining the provincial administration. Because this is how revenue gets spent over duplicity of roles. So the final question governors ought to have asked from a policy perspective is, what then has been the missing link in the implementation matrix of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which therefore has led to devolution problems? That should really have bothered them.
All right.
If they could have concentrated on those three questions, we would have gone a long way. Because with all due respect, I've read the Ugatuzi initiative. It's beautiful. We'll talk about a president, prime minister, and having ministers who are elected members of parliament. That's a good thing. But I have also two serious reservations about this initiative. I love devolution, but I will never support the fact that a county should have its own police force.
Security.
That one, I have a problem with that.
We'll be building walls. Now, witnessing this.
Let me just finish.
Yes. Okay.
I was a delegate in Bomas, and this question came out.
2 or 3.
We are likely to create warlords because we are likely to have rogue governors. What do you think? I don't mind asking. If Waititu had his own police force,
It will be
Or Governor
another
Mike
story.
Sonko.
or even Sonko had his own police force,
Obado, Jamongo.
you know, how would you deal with them?
Yeah.
We can't risk that.
Yeah.
Let security be a national matter. Let it remain here. For whatever good reasons the governors may have, I have serious reservations about that. The second reservation I have about this Ugatuzi initiative is that Ayub or Linda must belong to a specific political party for at least 1 year. So that when Paul or Pius rig you out,
You have to just...
then you become helpless. Because
you
now
can't be an
that
independent...
you have
Which is
nowhere
very
to
common
go.
in most of our parties. Eh?
Of course. That is a total violation of your rights under the Bill of Rights. And it is tantamount to disenfranchising you.
That's why they are also proposed
Yeah.
to have a political party body that also supervises nomination, because the problem is nominations. Yeah. So they are proposed that you have a nomination. And in fact, even in the issue of the one for health, they are also proposing that the Council of Governors be members of CRA, the Commission on Revenue Allocation. And also even in terms of loans, they also be given authority to also go for loans under the audit of County Assembly and also CRA.
All right. Yes, while constitutions are dynamic, Kenyans will tell you they would hate to go through this referendum, then have to go through another one 5, 10 years down the line, simply because we then again noticed that there's some key things that we did not address based on what, of course, Mike has highlighted, the key things that would drive us into wanting to have that change. Yeah? So when you look at some of these proposals, it's as though they are pegged on, addressing the issues of certain interests. For instance, of course, the governors would look at the aspect of devolution. We all have the interest of seeing devolution a success. We all have the interest of seeing, change of governance that is, and just have a system that is going to be good enough, to spearhead the activities of the country. We all have an interest of seeing our electioneering processes, conducted in the best way possible, addressing electoral injustice like, ODM wanted to do at some point in time. I don't know whether they still have the interest in board. So, when you look at all these proposals, Punguza Mizigo, a different one, touching on some key issues, forgetting others, we do not know what BBI is going to bring aboard. When we take a look at technically what the Ugatuzi is bringing on board, there's some other key things that are being left out on this one. So if we are to go with one single proposal, will we have failed? Is there a way that we can come in and say, okay, let's see what Punguza Mizigo brings on table, let's see what BBI brings on table, let's see what Ugatuzi brings on table, then we pick the key things and combine them and go to a referendum? having addressed some of these issues that would probably look as though we have addressed almost all the issues that would be thorny?
Well, Linda, you captured it so well. The promulgation of the 2010 Constitution came after a long process.
Right.
You were in Bomas. I was also in Bomas.
Thank you.
Yeah, though very briefly, 2003, 2004.
It's okay.
And you remember we picked on very, very specific things that led to us having a new constitution. And it was, I would say, a very torturous process because it took so long. Yeah. But now, 10 years down the road, is it 10? Almost 9 years down the road, having that constitution in play, it is due for review. That one I do not refuse, because of the reasons why we have seen the reasons why a constitution need to be changed. Because throughout that time, we may have come across some certain areas that we might have overlooked during the time this was being drafted, or rather finalized.
Right.
But I want to say this: the governance, devolution, is the best thing that ever happened to this country. True or false?
The Ugatuzi initiative.
No.
The
Devolution.
Devolution.
Yes.
Yeah. Devolution is the best thing that ever happened to this country.
Yes,
Because
I can attest to that.
you can attest to
My
that.
county has 25 kilometers of road.
It has.
We never had that for the past 60
We never had it.
For the past 55
Yeah,
years.
and I can tell you some of the development that have happened over the past two terms have been amazing. You know, we have seen water, we have seen rural roads being done, and many other things. Now, I want to say this: it is not bad for the governors to come up with the Ugatuzi initiative. My only problem, and that's, I know I would have a problem with Adede in that place. These gentlemen are not, they're not coming out very clearly. For once, I would agree with what the Deputy President is saying, though you know it's political. The Punguza Mizigo initiative, much as is also supporting it, it is politically affiliated. But now, the Deputy President said that we should not look at a constitution change so that we create jobs for people.
So
right?
you mean the expansion of the, to be specific and
Yes.
to be blunt, the creation of Prime Minister's position?
Parliamentary.
Yes.
2 Prime Ministers,
Yes.
then you have 2 Deputy Presidents.
Yes.
Okay, that's your worry point in this proposal.
For me.
Okay.
And of course for all of us as a nation.
Not for Adede and,
When we had, we have very success stories in this devolution, and looking at McQueen, for example.
All right.
And we had governors who, from the word go, when they were appointed, they took their tools, went to the ground, and hit the ground running. We've also had governors who have been politicking ever since they were elected. And actually, some of them are saying when their second term ends and the Constitution does not allow them to go for the third term, some of them will come to run for the office of the Senate.
All right.
Yes. So you are seeing, Linda, that we have a constitution, we have a working constitution, but we have a people who have been bestowed with the responsibility to execute this the constitution mandates, and they're not doing it so well.
All right.
So for me, for what I would suggest is that let us have the Ugatuzi, whatever they're proposing. I've not seen it.
Yes.
I've just seen a few documents around.
The problem is they did it in a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
No
So we need to have the Ugatuzi proposal, the initiative proposal, put on the table. We need to have the report of BBI, which has taken 1 year. We need it on the table. And by the way, there's a commission that is overlooking BBI, and they're drawing salaries for 1 year. We need the Punguza Mizigo initiative to be put on the table. Let us discuss the 3 documents. Let us find out the weighty areas.
The best that suits the country.
What best suits the country, not what best suits the Council of Governors.
Individuals.
The individuals.
All the individuals. Briefly, because as you respond, because of time, I also want to check the
Bottom line, there are more successful stories on the parliamentary system of governance, and there are more sad stories on the presidential type of governance.
Okay.
Looking at it.
Subject to discussion.
Yes.
All right.
Subject to discussion. Mike, I'll give you the final say here on the program before we wrap things up here.
My final say is this. I said it here a while ago. it is good that the country is given as many options to choose from as possible.
Yeah.
It is good that Third Way Alliance came up with the Punguza Mzigo initiative, which they've gone ahead and even made into a bill. Is already with the county assemblies.
That
is a good thing. BBI, we are still waiting for it. We don't know what's in it. Maybe they will, Dede says it will come.
This month.
This month, he's very sure, he seems to know. Let them come with their proposals. The governors have come up with their proposals. I said it here a while back, Linda. Even you come up with yours.
Right, yes,
And even you, Ayub, come up with yours. Let's look at all these things. And let's draft them into bills, because that is what the Constitution says. You turn them into questions.
All right.
And then we'll debate them as a country, and we'll see what works for us and what doesn't work for us. So don't concentrate on my bill.
Yeah.
Develop yours, put it on the table, and let the country see what is in it for all of us.
And
Funny
of course, delinking the individuals from the whole matter, because there appears to be one seeing a Kuro court from the prism of the Turkana boy, as is the case with Francis Wandiboli, and not more or less emphasizing on the content of the proposal that he made in the Punguza Mzigo Bill 2019. Well, thank you so much, Pius and Mike and Paula Dede for your time on the program. We now turn our attention to another important and all discussion that pertains to youth and entrepreneurship. I'll be talking to Lynn Shibanda, Alphonse Juma, and Betty Adera, who will be coming up next on the program after this short commercial break. And the number is 0791478990. The hashtag on Twitter is NewDayKE. 40920 is the short SMS code. Stay tuned. We are coming back after the short break.